I want this video to not be taken as a joke. I want this video to actually have meaning and to do something. So this video is going to be 100% full serious, but we are going to do it properly and not make it actually a video that's not worth watching and not worth your time and doesn't get anywhere. I'm going to be trying to be very professional, but at the same time very, very blunt. I may have accidentally chosen some wrong choice of words in this, so please forgive those in advance. I will forgive anything that is addressed towards me. But this is a video regarding something that, in my humble opinion, and a lot of others as well, has been plaguing video games over the last recent few years. And this is skill-based matchmaking. Skill-based matchmaking, for those of you that do not know what it is, it's a form of coding that is in a video game that makes it so that way you as a player in your lobby, your enemies will be equal or similar to equal of skill value as you. This can mean that they try to go for the kills just as much as you do. This could mean that they could try to go as hard on the objective as you do. This could mean that they could try to get as many kills as you. This can mean that their score per minute is the same as yours. This can mean of a lot of things. Nobody truly knows what skill-based matchmaking fully entails. Each developer has one, and it's different to each developer. Some games that are known for skill-based matchmaking as of right now when I'm making this video is Call of Duty, Overwatch, and Rainbow Six Siege. Those are the three main games that come to mind immediately when I think of competitive multiplayers. I wouldn't quite say some others that, like some of you may be thinking. Some of you may be thinking, oh, well, what about this, that, and the other? I will address those, but that's not what I'm going to address now. So let me say this. When it comes to skill-based matchmaking, it may not be the full reason, but it definitely is a contributing factor to why games suffer. I feel very strongly about my beliefs, and I know deep down that somewhere along with what I'm going to say about this video, you can agree with me on some points, and if not all. Even the developers. If you could share this video to any developer that you think that is worthy enough of this video that is important, this goes for every developer. This may not necessarily go exactly according to plan. Some developers may not agree with me on others. Some may 100% agree with me. Who knows? But I'm just saying this right now is that if you have a desire to want change, please recommend this video. It would help me out tremendously on my YouTube channel. I believe that it would help you out because I believe that my ideas and my beliefs would not only reassure you in the future, but also would be able to be relatable, and who knows, maybe you'll end up wanting to see more from my channel. And hopefully a developer will end up opening his eyes or her eyes and want to change something about this. This is why, at the end of the day, skill-based matchmaking ruins games. So let's begin with the main point. The main point about why I believe this, and like I said, a lot of others do as well. When it comes to skill-based matchmaking, your games are always infuriating. Not just necessarily in terms of like just playing against someone and then you get frustrated because you lose. It's infuriating. I choose that specific choice of words because this is a broad term because it applies to multiple things. Skill-based matchmaking, whether it's been addressed at this specifically or not, across multiple games have had different issues. So don't quote me, and certain developers will have different opinions on this. But when I say this, I don't want you to quote me on this. I believe that skill-based matchmaking for a lot of games is not only toxic, but I believe that it's the reason why developers and players alike end up despising playing and helping towards the game to make it better. And it may not necessarily be the case for everybody, but I strongly believe at the end of the day this is the case, because if you look at multiple YouTube videos and Twitter posts and Reddit forums, a lot of people tend to have these same and very similar ideas. Everyone thinks that skill-based matchmaking needs to go, and I believe with this fully to the honest, like, literal extent. Like, there is no reason why this should be in video games. When we end up buying a video game, sure, some of us may like to brag. Some of us may actually genuinely want to make this a job because we've seen that happen. Some people may want to end up making a career out of this and end up being a esports star, I say that in quotation marks, some people just genuinely like to be good at the game. Some people just like to make content for YouTube, sometimes like what I do. And some people are just naturally a very sports heavy, or I guess win heaviest person. Like whether they play anything, they're just uber competitive. Now, that's okay. Skill-based matchmaking, in a sense of if you're trying to end up going pro and you want to treat this as a professional sport, that is 100% acceptable. And it should be in those specific scenarios. If you're having, let's say, a match, and you have a team of 6 and then another team of 6, and let's just say it's a random game like Rainbow Six Siege. And let's say that you want to make this a game where money's on the line, or you're auditioning, or it's a tournament, or something like that. Skill-based matchmaking in that specific scenario is 100% acceptable, and I encourage it. But, and this is a very big but, skill-based matchmaking should never under any circumstance be in public matches over connectivity only for the basic introduction of the game. If you are playing a game for the very first time, I understand that, yes, if you end up getting destroyed right away, it is very unmotivating and does not want you to necessarily want to keep playing. For some people. Some other people feel differently. Some other people, including myself, want to get better. If we like the game enough, and even though we might be losing, we'll continue to play despite the fact that we're losing. We end up wanting to get better. We like the grind. We appreciate a challenge. And some people may not feel this way. So that's why a lot of developers over the last several years have implemented skill-based matchmaking in their games to make newer players feel more welcome to the atmosphere, to the game, and not get 100% destroyed. That I understand completely. And what I would make as a suggestion, instead of just necessarily talking about ideas, I'm actually going to make some solution offers. I would highly recommend that every developer of every game look into a boot camp style mode. It can be different depending on the game, depending on how they see it, but a general boot camp mode for newer players, so that way they feel welcome and feel safe and don't get turned off to the game right away, and then can eventually be welcome to play with all of us, would be an extremely okay option. In fact, it would be an extraordinary option. As a hypothetical example, let's say that you have Call of Duty, and you've had their previous boot camps modes before as an example. You could have it where from level 0 to level 10, you only play against either AI or players of your skill level. For those 10 levels, you can end up unlocking guns, getting perks, getting equipment, figuring out the maps, figuring out how the guns play, what you like, and all that wonderful stuff. And then after you're level 10, you will no longer be able to play said mode unless you make a new account, and you have to play the normal public match with all of us. Similar to how Overwatch, when their competitive mode came out, you were required to play until you were level 25 or higher to even participate. That made it so that way people that were just not fresh off the streets and just bought the game randomly hop into your competitive match and don't know a lot about the game and can cost you a win that would be very important to you. It's an example of that. Now, when it comes to skill-based matchmaking as a general whole, if let's say you're picking up the game randomly, right? You pick up the game, you might have heard it's good, you want to play it. Let's make Overwatch this example. Let's say you buy Overwatch. You buy Overwatch and you end up playing the game, and you're playing Quick Play, the most basic mode, the first mode that everyone played. It's been the game since launch. It's not competitive in the slightest in terms of like the skill-based matchmaking, because it's a lot thicker in other modes, but there is skill-based matchmaking. This game's skill-based matchmaking, even in the public match, is meant to be a form of boot camp. It's meant to keep you in lobbies that are relatively easier, so that way you can participate and get a couple of kills, maybe a lot of kills, who knows, maybe you're just naturally good, and you can do well. It would be similar to, let's say, if you were playing football for the very first time, right? And you don't necessarily get thrown in with the NFL right away. No, no, no. You got to work your way up to that. You would play against, like, let's say, your family or your friends, somebody you've played with for a while, but you're both equally just as new to the sport. And that's the way that you should do it. You should work your way up. Now, this is where it gets a little bit iffy. I've been very iffy with the way I word things. Now I'm going to get into specifics. For one reason or another, a lot of people also don't like skill-based matchmaking because sometimes, and this is different for everybody, it can include the following problems. Number one, connection is not priority. There is a lot of people, including myself, who have had connections that are absolutely atrocious because the game prioritized skill as more important than internet connection. I live in the United States of America. Sometimes I played against people that are not even in my country because they're quote-unquote better or similar to skill of me. I have faced people in Canada. I have faced people in Mexico. I have faced people in Europe, Australia. I have faced people from pretty much all over the whole entire world. I was not on a specific server that was to put me there. I was meant to play on United States servers. And I got stuck with people that were not from my country, which in turn caused me to end up having lag when I was playing in the lobby, which could lead to death and also problems for my connection. Sometimes game progress wouldn't save. Sometimes I would die unfairly and it would cost me a loss. And it would make it where my Xbox, which is my main console choice, sometimes would not run properly. It would damage my actual device. It shouldn't get to that extreme. And it's very, very frustrating, to say the least, that some developers may or may not understand the fullest extent to this. Another problem that can sometimes arise is that when it comes to skill-based matchmaking, sometimes what happens is that you end up getting players that will try to cheat or manipulate the system, which can cause toxicity within the game. Think about it this way. You're a new player, right? You're playing the game, and you expect to maybe get a couple kills. You don't expect to do good, but you also don't expect to do terrible either. You pop in the disc, you load up the game, you made your class, you've maybe played like 1 or 2 games, you got a general gist, and then randomly you get one lobby in particular, and this guy is a level 1, but he plays very, very good. He's drop shotting, he's jump shotting, he might even screw with you a bit, and he might 360 you, he might teabag you, and you're wondering what the heck is going on here, why is this guy so toxic, this is not fun, I don't want to be here. Sometimes you just have horrible people that will manipulate skill-based matchmaking for the ability to play against people they know they shouldn't play against. In this case, I completely understand why there is skill-based matchmaking. You don't want people in this scenario doing what we call reverse boosting or smurfing. Smurfing is where you end up playing on an account that has no stats or sometimes bad stats, so that way you can get easier lobbies despite your actual skill level. And this is frustrating because what it is that it tricks the computer to make you have an unfair match by beyond belief. Like, that would be like somebody like me who barely knows anything about, like, let's say football, for example. I don't play sports, and expecting me to go against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots and win or somehow get a good game. That would be really, really challenging, and it probably almost would be fun because it just obviously would be an extreme example. Or like, let's say I was thrown into a shooting range, right? And I have a military soldier next to me, and he's trying to shoot the exact same targets with me. He's definitely going to have a lot better aim than me, and to tell me that I'm supposed to compete with this guy when I have little to no experience is not fun. Sure, it might be fun to play and learn from the guy, but imagine that you're doing this over and over and over again. This is what people sometimes do to manipulate the system. You may think that it might be one bad match, but it's not one bad match. It's multiple people, multiple times doing this to you. You could be a new player, and sure, you might think, oh, this one guy is just really good, or even if he's smurfing or technically doing something he's not supposed to, it's just one game. And that's another game, and then another game, and another game. And sometimes not even the same dude. Sometimes just multiple people cheating the system. That is frustrating, not only for the newer players, because it defeats the point of what the skill-based matchmaking is for in the first place. I understand it's to prevent that from happening. It's supposed to prevent from people from manipulating the system to get easier lobbies and therefore make newer players miserable. I understand that. But this also goes both ways. The tryhard, or the quote-unquote better players, they never feel like they're truly satisfied with their game when they're playing on their normal accounts or when they're playing against the normal matches based off the skill-based matchmaking they are currently provided. Somebody like, for me, example, I am fairly good. When it comes to games, some games I'm better at than others, but let's take the most extreme example for me. The best game I've ever performed competitively is Overwatch, because I've got top 500 in free-for-all and team deathmatch. Top 500 is extremely high rank, which means that my lobbies are uber sweaty. Somebody with my skill level will not want to play against other people in that skill bracket all of the time. Think about it this way. If you're playing in a skill bracket where you know that you're going to be playing against people of your skill level, or maybe potentially even better, it's okay if you're trying to do it in a competitive setting or in a sports setting, or if you just genuinely like a challenger and want to get better. But let's say that you're having a bad day and you don't want to play the competitive mode for whatever reason, and you want to just play against whatever lobby you can find. Let's just say you kind of want to take it easy. Let's say you purposely want to have something relaxing, so you load up the default mode. Something like this for Call of Duty as examples, that Team Deathmatch was always the most chill, casual, laid-back mode because it was always the first and it was always the top of the list for everybody. It was the first mode that showed up, and it's only about killing. And that's what a lot of people would gravitate towards. You wouldn't expect to see a lot of noobs in hardpoint or domination. So sometimes you might hop in there. Now the thing is, though, is that if your skill level is that high, with the way that games are right now with skill-based matchmaking, no matter what mode you play, that lobby carries over, or that skill lobby logic carries over. So, like, let's say you didn't want to play against sweaty people because you were getting frustrated and you wanted to take a break, but you still want to play the game. You can't. You can't. You will play the game, and you'll have the exact same type of lobby no matter what mode you play. So, for example, let's say that you're an NFL star, and you would just love to play with, like, let's say, I don't know, your friends or your neighbors, right? You don't want to play against any of the other people in the league, but you can't. Like, let's just say that you were literally, like, let's say you had a gun pointed to your head, so you cannot play against people that are not of your skill level. You have to play against people of your skill level, otherwise I'm going to shoot you. That's what it feels like sometimes. It feels like I have an invisible gun pointed at my head saying, you can't have a easy lobby, you always got to try to improve, otherwise you just can't play the game, or you got to play offline. And that's not fun. That is not fun whatsoever. So it goes both ways. The reason the more competitive players that want to relax smurf, or basically quote-unquote cheat, is because of that reason. So it goes both ways. It's frustrating on both reasons. My solution to this part is that, other than the fact that you can have a boot camp mode, I believe that you should not have skill-based matchmaking in any mode that is not for a competitive setting. I believe that, like how that there should be a boot camp mode in every game, there should also be a dedicated competitive mode specifically in the game as well, so that way if you purposely want to end up getting better and know what you're getting into, you can play against people of your skill level or maybe even higher. And then if you want to play a more casual mode, you can end up playing everything else. You could have maybe like 5 normal modes, 5 competitive modes, 50-50. I think that sounds 100% fair. Or, if your game is mostly competitive based, you could do the opposite, and you could have a casual mode, the one mode in the game that does not have skill-based matchmaking. And if you're worried about player count, what you could do is you could rotate the game mode in and out of the game. I've seen developers do this multiple times. You could have it only show up on the weekends or once a week, or it's only a certain amount of times per person, something like that, so that way people cannot abuse it. I understand that people can abuse it, but however, though, this is still a better option than what we're currently going with, because we know that this is an issue, and it's been an issue in a lot of games for years now, which has resulted in people being toxic towards each other. Another problem that can arise from skill-based matchmaking is that it gives a falsehood of actual dedicated skill. You could play a game, right? And you could be the new player, and if you're only playing against people that are of your skill level or almost crappier than you, you're never going to improve. You're never actually going to understand what it's like to play against people of your skill level. And the same logic applies in the higher ranks. If a guy that's like, let's say, the best in the world plays only in lobbies where it's ridiculously easy, like let's say that the max level guy plays against the level 1 guy all the time, he's only playing against the level 1 guys all the time, making it where his skill level only matches the lowest guy. It's like the weakest link, epiphany, or quote rather. So you're as strong as your weakest link, and your weakest link is your enemy's level in this case. So his skill went from max rank to level 1 because he's only playing against level 1. And that's not good because he's not improving, nor is the other player. If you're getting always beat down by people and you're never learning anything from it, then you're never getting better, and it's not fun. And same logic applies. Now, you may be saying, oh, well, if you're always playing against people that are better or similar skill to you, you should always be improving. Now, this is where you're iffy and we're getting into sketchy territory. With the mixture of problems that are in the game, where people specifically try to avoid or cheat the system, it makes it impossible to do so. I could easily say, for months and months and months, maybe even years, and I can make multiple videos about why skill-based matchmaking or gaming has this problem for X, Y, and Z. Because everything is different. Each game is different, each developer is different, the problems and the solutions are different, the players are different, everything is different. I can't make a perfect one-piece video about a solution for absolutely everything. It's literally impossible. It's literally impossible. But I can say this. As a general idea, for a practice that I recommend we all try to do when it comes to skill-based matchmaking, we need to crack down on the people that ruin it. And this means looking for cheaters, looking for smurfs, looking for toxic people in general, people that kill themselves over and over again to try to reverse boost, the people that talk crap to you because they're frustrated they're getting tough lobbies, making you perform worse and get distracted, the people that end up making it where they end up having alternate accounts or Chronos Max mods to make themselves feel better about themselves because they actually can't compete. These people need to go. If everybody actually listened to the rules, we would have never had these issues. Like, for example, when I played Overwatch, I didn't get top 500 until I played free-for-all, where it was all on me. When I was playing with teammates, and this is to say that this is not to say I'm not a team player or anything, because I am a team player for sure. But the thing is, though, is that I was frustrated that I had to wait till a free-for-all mode where I had to specifically not have teammates in order to get my actual goal. I couldn't work with people because what would happen is that I would end up getting lobbies where I was playing with people that either didn't care enough to actually try their hardest, or they would purposely try to sabotage me for the benefit of themselves being selfish. People would kill themselves. People would not participate in their most try-hard fashion, I would say. And these are just some problems. This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. I could go on and on and on. Now, you could say, oh, well, play with your friends or look for a team that works for you. Well, this also applies to enemies. Sometimes enemies, what they'll do is they'll cheat, or they'll smurf, or they can do X, Y, and Z. There's nothing stopping somebody in the lobby from rooting the match because they didn't want to listen to the rules. A enemy could be smurfing, which means they could be better than me, and then therefore, because they're better than me, they're making it where I can never beat them, and I get my rank set back or never can go up. Or my teammates also don't care, and my rank will also never go up. I had to wait for a free-for-all mode where it was all on me, and basically the only thing that could stop me at that point was cheaters. But it was actually just me. It was all my skill, and I proved to myself and to everybody that if I'm playing by myself in a fair setting, I can actually do well. And I did multiple times over. This is the rinse and repeat cycle that frustrates players to the point where they don't want to play games. I don't want to risk my mental health to play a video game. I want you to quote me on this. You should not feel mentally ill or disappointed in yourself because of a video game. You should not. Now, if you genuinely have mental health problems, I'm sorry if that offended you. I'm not trying to say that as a joke. I'm just trying to say that as the most extreme example. Like I said, this is 100% serious. I'm not trying to make jokes of anything, so do not take that the wrong way. What I'm saying as a idea is that I shouldn't feel so much self-pity and disgust at myself for losing a match or not doing well. Maybe I am a sore loser. Maybe I'm uber competitive. Maybe I need to take a break. Maybe it was just a bad experience. But the one thing that is always common in every single time I play is consistency. It may not be the exact same problem. It may not be a certain amount of number of problems, but there's always at least one problem. Whenever I'm playing the game, there's always one of those problems every single time I play. Every single time. And it's frustrating to the point that you cannot believe. I do not know, and I would like to believe that skill-based matchmaking is something tested for their actual game by play testers. I would hope that skill-based matchmaking is tested to the fullest extent by game testers. I don't know if game testers only play the game against like themselves or bots or random people or their friends or their family or whatever have you, the developers. I don't know. I'm not a game developer, and I've never had the privilege to be one. But skill-based matchmaking is one of those things that I'm very suspicious about, to the point where I genuinely believe they do not test it out, and we are used as the testers. And nor do we get paid for it either. I know you guys agree with me on some of these points. Some of you may agree with me on all of these points. And I know that deep down you know I'm right. Whether you're a viewer or a fellow gamer of these games that I'm listing, or you're a developer even. And I would like to hope that these can be fixed. And my solution for this problem about all this toxicity for these games, I highly, highly, highly recommend that there should be more strict punishments for the people that are unfairly playing the game and rewards for the people that are good. You can't have just negative reinforcement, but you also can't just have positive reinforcement. There needs to be a balance. Have it be like cops and robbers logic. We're not going to preemptively punish people, but if you do end up breaking the rules, we will punish you. These punishments can vary different games to different modes to different causations, whatever have you. But it should be the general consensus or the general idea. In the extreme examples, let's say that somebody has got God mode and aimbot, and they're on a rank that doesn't match their skill level, and they're in a game multiple times on ends, just trashing you. Those people need to be IP banned. And if you're having somebody, like let's say, as an example, some of my friends, like some of my people like Jake and Murray and Tim and Joseph, like these guys are loyal as hell. They are absolutely loyal people to certain games. Jake is loyal to Rainbow Six Siege. Murray is loyal to Halo. Joseph is loyal to things like such as Call of Duty. Now, these guys don't get enough rewards for what they should. It's nice to get a free gift of like a calling card or an emblem or a skin or something like that. But I would like to believe that it's easy enough to keep doing that more than just maybe a couple times. Even if it's little things, those little things help. I have tremendously enjoyed loading up Modern Warfare and being like, oh, thank you, Infinity Ward. I wouldn't mind having a calling card. It's not necessarily my favorite, but I appreciate the gesture. It's a gesture of goodwill. Or let's say that on Rainbow, I load up the game and I haven't loaded up in a while, and I get some Rainbow packs, and I get like a weapon charm or a gun skin. I'm like, oh, this is fancy. I think I'll rock the gun because of this. Or I could play, like, let's say something like Overwatch. And the Overwatch could be like, if you participate in this game, we'll give you, let's say, a new emote. Or here's an emote saying, thank you for playing, like, several years. Kind of how, like, in Fortnite, for the people that bought the Skull Trooper and the Ghoul Trooper skins, which were skins from the very first season of Fortnite, they were in an iffy spot, and they had a really good solution for their skin issue. Certain people, like myself, that never got the skin before, wanted to have the skin. But some people that had it before, when the game first came out, they looked at it as a way of saying, hey, I've been here from the very beginning. Please don't take this away from me. I don't want everyone to have this skin because then it loses its novelty. Both sides are completely 100% understandable. So Epic was in a pinch, right? And what did they do? They released the skin again for all the players that didn't have it before, so that way they could use it. And they made similar versions, but new spins on the skin for the OG players only, so that way they could have a version that was specific to them. Because when players were asking, they weren't necessarily asking for the new versions too. They were just asking for the base. Like the Skull Trooper back when that first came out, it was just a Skull Trooper. And so if you missed it, you missed it. And therefore, if you want it back, there was a weird back and forth argument about like, oh, I want the skin, but this guy's saying he wants to say that he's been here since the beginning. What are we going to do? Epic made it so that way you could get the normal version for all the new players, but all the old players that had it previously, they got a skin that looked identical to it, but it was just purple. It was a purple Skull Trooper. And so you could tell who was the originals and who was not, but you still had the new players be able to get the skin. It's a minor thing, and it may have taken different types of ideas and solutions to come up with that, but that was a good idea. That was a very, very good idea. When you have communication like this, it makes the game feel a lot more open and welcoming and nice to play. So you need to ban and punish the players that do wrong and reward people that do the good. You can give out like mini rewards and you can deal punishments accordingly. You gotta have a balance. You gotta let people know not to mess with you, but you gotta let people know that it's not like if they mess up they're 100% screwed. You gotta basically try to be like a nurturing mom or dad with the game. The community is like your kids, your fictional adopted kids, right? And you're trying your best to make sure that they have a good, healthy experience on your game and have fun. And you cannot mismanage that. That's how games die. Some games have their ups and downs, yes. Some developers may add in a thing that might not be fun to play with in the game. Some people might cheat a system. Sometimes the game just naturally has bugs. Sometimes it's all the above for multiple reasons. And with games as a general whole, I have listed multiple times and times again about what makes a good game. And I'm telling you right now what makes a bad game. As a game in general, as a whole, you need to treat the game like it's a baby, right? The game is your baby. A lot of developers say that their games are their babies. The community is your baby too. If the community dies, your game is pointless. Unless the game is literally for yourself, the idea behind the whole entire game was for you to make a community of people that like your game and respect what you do and share your ideas with the world. And that's what we want to do too. We want to do that through your games. Developers, we really, really do. Like, that's why YouTubers and streamers exist. We have gaming channels because we want to show our fun experiences through your game and make our own little fan bases and stuff like that. And we can't do that sometimes. And sometimes that's with skill-based matchmaking. You can have a game without skill-based matchmaking and have it be successful. For example, Fortnite. Fortnite No matter how you look at it, you cannot refuse or ignore or refute anything about what that game has done for the good of gaming. Some of the standards for that game are going to stay with us forever. I swear to God. That game set such great standards and proved how in modern times you can have a successful game and still have a community that you don't screw over. Over the last couple of years, we have been screwed over by supply drops and loot gambling casino simulators for video games, or hackers, or people that are smurfing or cheating the system. And a lot of these things just ruin games. And what did Epic Games do? Epic Games, they ended up making a free game where the only thing that you ended up having to pay for was cosmetics that did not alter the game whatsoever, and you knew what you were buying. It's not like it was randomized. You knew what you were getting the moment you bought it, and the prices never changed and went up and was more expensive. They didn't screw you over. You knew exactly what you got. The game had fun, consistent, free updates, always had feedback, always ended up trying to patch and fix and make the game better. Epic, from Season 1 to Season 10 of Chapter 1 of Fortnite, they tried their absolute hardest to make the game fun and balanced and just an enjoyable experience overall. Now, I understand that sometimes patching a game may make it not fun because it's too bland or dry or strict. I also understand not patching it at all can make the game busted and crazy and ridiculous. It's a thin line you have to cross, but you are absolutely screwed if you do not cross it. I want to say this to wrap things up here. When it comes to skill-based matchmaking and gaming in general, the idea that's always been for games since the very beginning is to have fun. And some people's tolerance for frustration and stuff gets to the point where they feel like they can't have fun. If you're playing a game, and I'm going back to the mental health example real quick here again. If you genuinely feel frustrated and disgusted with yourself on a regular basis for trying to just play the game in a certain way, that's not only not healthy, but that's not fun either. I shouldn't have to load up a game and subconsciously know, not think, no, I have to not play a certain way and try my hardest to have a decent game, not even necessarily a guaranteed good game. I could still try my best and still lose. And that's extremely demoralizing. If every game I have to try my best and still potentially not even guaranteed get a win, that's very, very bad. That's not iffy bad, that is really bad. That screws with you psychologically. That makes it where you fall into that deep trap of like, oh my god, am I actually bad or not? Like, you shouldn't think you're bad because a game tells you you're bad through the equivalent of the experiences it gives you. If you're having a bad day, you don't necessarily need to play the game. You can take a break. And if you genuinely, at the end of the day, do not like the game, if you already knew what you're getting into, it was mentioned that it was a competitive game, you just don't have to buy it. I understand the developers shouldn't have to change their game and conforms to what we want. But if they want a healthy community and they want new people to come in, they kind of have to. We need to find a happy middle ground. And the one way to do that, at the end of the day, throughout all this, is communication. Be open to things on both ends. We as a community and you as the developers need to actually be willing to listen. I will admit, I genuinely think, and I'm not saying this as a sugarcoat thing either, I'm going to be flat out blunt with this, but I feel like one of the main reasons why Fortnite, and I'm going to give this as an example because since Valorant came out, and it was the #1 stream game on Twitch, and it had like over 1 million people watching, and Fortnite, which was #2, only had 200,000. Since Fortnite's technically, at the moment, the biggest game at the moment, even though Valorant hasn't come out, I'm gonna say since Valorant's not out yet, it doesn't count. But since Fortnite is still technically the biggest game, people are saying because the game is not as fun as it used to be, or whatever have you, for this, that, and the other, that since Valorant had a certain amount of views on Twitch, that means that Fortnite is 100% dead. It's not fun, it's not enjoyable, it's toxic, it's unenjoyable, whatever have you. If there's a pretty decent, like, vocal community saying that your game is bad and it's unfun, if the majority is saying that your game is unfun, then we've got an issue here. And I feel like that one of the reasons why Fortnite did inevitably end up going down a slope that they can't exactly come out of at the moment is because we made them. We played Fortnite religiously. And I'm saying we is because, like, everyone has played Fortnite. Everybody. It's free. You can't even say you haven't played it because it's free. There's no excuse of not being able to buy it. It's free. You've played Fortnite at least once, I'm pretty sure. And I feel like that the community over time eventually wore down Epic Games to the point where they just didn't care anymore. Sometimes what would happen is that the people that were uber competitive want people to, like, let's say, not do a certain action, and they got really toxic, or some people would end up chewing out the developers. Now, I understand that this is sometimes not everybody, but in general, you don't think about it that way. You never think about it that way, in your opinion. Like, when you are criticized, you don't necessarily look at the things that you've done right. You listen to that one dude that's always telling you negative. Like, if you were, like, let's say as an example, right? Let's say you made a game right now. You, the viewer that are watching this video, let's say you made a game right now, and everybody in the room except for one guy didn't like it. Sure, you would appreciate the thoughts of everybody that did like it, but because us as humans were naturally meant to solve problems, we're going to pay attention to the one guy that said he didn't like it more and try to fix that problem. We're going to try to figure out how we can convince him to like it, how we can prevent that happening again, and resolving that issue. And I believe, honestly, truly, with Epic Games, is that they were hearing the negative content and the negative feedback that we're making so much to the point that they just got burnt out. They originally went from fun, free updates on a regular basis, like sometimes multiple days in a row, like every couple of days, like 2 to 3 days. They ended up giving us crazy in-game events that have never been done before in gaming. They've had multiple crossovers that we would only have dreamed of back in the past. And we made them believe that what they're doing is not good enough. We said, this needs to be fixed, and that's really all that's important to us. I remember when Fortnite's had multiple problems, and I would look at Twitter, right? And I would scroll down, and most people would just complain and be annoyed with the current problems in the game and wouldn't be appreciative of what they currently got. There could be a brand new event, and it could be something like add back in Siphon, take out skill-based matchmaking, fix 90s, and the list just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And I'm thinking to myself, and maybe I'm just an optimist, or maybe I'm just a nice, empathetic person, I don't know. But I would feel bad for Epic Games. And I wouldn't say anything because literally getting into the internet and trying to start like an opinion war, it's just it's this toxic hellhole that I just don't want to get into. And it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. And I know that people can do it because it's easy and there's nothing stopping anyone from doing it. It's probably going to continue. And I understand that it's people's opinion, and they can have whatever opinion they want, even though it may not be fun nor fair to criticize somebody to that degree. You can say whatever you want. I mean, at least in the United States, you can say pretty much whatever you want, and that's it. Nobody can do anything about it. It's an opinion. You are a human with your opinion, and you can say that. But the thing is, though, is that as a general whole, if the only thing that you are hearing is just negativity, or you hear a lot of it on a regular basis, it's eventually going to catch up to you and wear you down. I think Epic as a whole, just in general, just got tired of us. And that's why we haven't had patch notes. That's why the updates are super slow. That's why the game is getting buggy, and they're pushing all these competitive, money-hustling game modes for tournaments and not actually updating the game properly. And this is probably, in fact, I'm actually going to say this as a opinion that I would like to believe is an educational guess to the point where it most likely is correct. I believe that skill-based matchmaking is one of those correlations. Us as humans, we're greedy people, and we always want more, and we always want to get better. And if we have a game that we like, of course we're going to want to be number one. Of course. So what do we do naturally? We try our butts off, and we know we live in a world where if we end up giving our opinion strongly enough, we're more likely than not to get change. Otherwise, we leave. You're not going to play a game if you're not enjoying it. So if you don't get the change you want, you leave. And they don't want you to leave because they want their game to do well, so they usually give in. It's most of the time majority rule, sometimes it's not. And trying to make the game to what you would. Like, for example, you can't expect a developer to make the game 100% fully what you want. Otherwise, like, it would have to be your game at that point. They can't read your mind. They can't make the game 100% based off of your opinion because they still have other people they gotta satisfy. And I understand satisfying everybody ends up leading to satisfying nobody, but it's a general rule of thumb, and it's the principle of the matter. You can't expect everything and never having to re-consent that. Like, we need to give that back to the developers. The developers work their butts off to try to give us a whole bunch of cool things, such as Epic Games, and we don't go on Twitter and say, like, oh, thank you, Epic Games, or thank you, Ravens, or Treyarch, or Infinity Ward, or, oh, you guys, that's such a great job, that's awesome, that's amazing, share the love, whatever have you. Like, this is going to sound like a bad joke here, or a quote-unquote Disney Channel star thing to say, but it's true. The golden rule or basic human decency has been apparently eradicated in the modern century, and I don't understand. Like, people may call me corny, people may call me dorky, girly, whatever insult you can think of to express how that by me being nice it's a bad thing. But I genuinely don't, and I know it's not. And I encourage everybody to the fullest extent to share love, positivity, and whatever have you, not only in gaming, but just in life in general. This world is way too full of negative people, and one person, one nice person, or one positive comment can change somebody's day. That's one of the reasons why I like YouTube. YouTube can be sometimes one of the most frustrating things, but I wouldn't change it for anything. I would always do YouTube if I'm allowed to. And sometimes I'll have a really bad day, and sometimes I'll get a positive comment on my YouTube video, and that makes me cheer right up. And we need to start doing that for developers. So, developers, some of the things you can do is, like, give us free stuff, keep us updated, try to work with us. If there's a change you're not sure about, either be willing to revert it or willing to change it, or even just ask us ahead of time. That would be appreciated as a general whole. Such as skill-based matchmaking, just please be open to changes that we suggest for it, such as this, like my video right here. And then us as, the fans, we need to be open to their ideas. Like, for example, Epic or Treyarch or Activision Blizzard wants to add in a feature to their game, be open to it. A good example of this, and I would love to see this for other games, it's one of the reasons why I hold Overwatch in such high regards, is because Overwatch tried a thing just recently called the Experimental tab. This is what I would like to believe the beginning of an era for gaming in general. This is a early Fortnite season type of logic of hype for this mode that you just do not fully understand yet. The Experimental tab in Overwatch, what it is that it's a tab that will end up having patch ideas that we can play test. It's available on console and on PC, and it's very, very, very good as a general idea. I like that idea a lot. So, if let's say that Blizzard wants to make their one character really, really strong in the next update, we can play with the general character idea that they put in that mode right now, just in that mode. It's not in the whole entire game. It's just in that mode. And let's say that that character is extremely broken in their buff, and we don't want that. They can disregard it like it never happened. That's a really good idea. Being able to suggest feedback through the fans, that's a great idea. I honestly love that. I really, really do, because I don't necessarily know how often developers play, but the fans are always going to play. And if we get to test out the patch ideas ahead of time, that would be amazing, because we prevent future problems. We can detect glitches right away before they're even in the game. We can just find it in that playlist, and we can keep them out of the game and plaguing the game. The overall community gets involved too, which means that we're not only helping make the game better alongside the developers, but we get to make it how that we want and how that they want. We're finding like a middle ground, right? They give us something, we say whether we like it or not, and we make adjustments accordingly. And that needs to be in every single game. Every single game from here on out. I petitioned this for every single game. Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, Call of Duty, whatever have you. This needs to be the standard. We need to have a mode that is like experimental in Overwatch, where a update may or may not come out, and we can play it early and see if we actually want in the game. And that would be amazing. With skill-based matchmaking, I suggest this. Other than what I already have, that is. Make a mode where skill-based matchmaking is changed in a variety of different ways. You don't necessarily have to have one mode. You can have multiple modes. You could have skill-based matchmaking off in one mode. You can have skill-based matchmaking on in one mode and off in the rest. You could have it be at certain intervals. You could have it be strict and less strict at certain intervals in the certain modes. Like you can have really easy, medium, super hard, kind of like almost like difficulties in the campaign level. You could end up having the skill-based matchmaking be certain features. Like for example, it could be your kills or your wins or your score per minute. You could also have the skill-based matchmaking only apply in certain scenarios. Like it could be based off like gunfight reactions for all I know. It could be like how many headshots do you get, or how do you move in a certain reaction. Like you get attack movement, that could be really weird and uberly specific. That'd be freaky. In fact, I heard that that's what Modern Warfare does, is that Modern Warfare skill-based matchmaking is so thick that they don't even judge your kills or your wins. They judge your reaction timing, the way you move, and you can't fake that. You could kill yourself all you want in the games and say that, oh, you have a terrible KD or win-loss, but if they see you crapping on a whole bunch of people after you've killed yourself multiple times, they're going to detect something's up. The robot's not stupid. They made these robots to prevent these issues. If you're killing yourself over and over and over again for like 5 games in a row, and then the next game you're suddenly killing everybody left and right like it's no issue, the game's not going to end up saying like, oh yeah, this guy's bad and he just had a really good game. They're going to be like, no, this guy's cheating, let's get his ass out of here. You get my point. Anyways, skill-based matchmaking, it's needed in some regards, yes. It definitely is needed. But it should not be everything. I want to leave you with this. Once again, gaming at the end of the day is all about having fun. And if you're not having fun, then that's the problem. And skill-based matchmaking is one of those many problems. So let's fix it. So anyways, guys, I hope you ended up enjoying today's video. If you did, I would truly appreciate if you could drop a thumbs up. It would always be greatly appreciated. This video in particular, I wanted to be very honest and very blunt, but constructive and fair in this video. This applies to all developers, for all games, for all people as a general whole. If you have a person that you would like to share this video with, whether it's developer or somebody you know like your friends or family, I would tremendously appreciate you doing so. I would really appreciate if you could drop a thumbs up on the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're a new around here, because it's always greatly appreciated, and it will allow me to show up in the algorithm more, therefore YouTube would be like, hey, I like this guy, let's promote his video more, and then I can meet more of you guys, and eventually I can maybe hopefully have the privilege to make this my job and be able to keep giving you guys this content. It's a win-win for everybody, so why not do so? So yeah, guys, that is my opinions of skill-based matchmaking and what it needs to happen with it. I hope you ended up enjoying the video. Just once again, if you happen to enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. My links to my social medias for possibly talking about this topic again, if you are interested in like mini tidbits or maybe possible future bits, they will be linked down below in the description as always. But yeah, guys, look forward to another video tomorrow, and I will see you guys all there. Peace out, everybody. Thank you for watching.